everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the episode. Hey, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you watching in the world. Welcome to another episode of DaAfrican Speaks. This is a beautiful thing because we have an African in the studio that definitely has been given a voice, and he has chosen to live the word in his life. He speaks completely. Now, as we begin, we want to continue always reminding you guys of the programs that come from this platform. And so, please, anytime if you're looking, come out and partake in the Garvey games where we're doing gaming for the little kids. Partake in the roots and culture class that we're doing on Saturdays. The African spirituality class that's doing on Saturdays. And we have AfriStream, again, a special situation, a special stream going on tomorrow at 7. And then we have the Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday. We ask you to join us and support. And at any given time, when you come in, please like, comment, or share the information. This is how we move it forward. This is how we inform our people what is going on, and we affect algorithms, internet algorithms, which is a part of the revolutionary spirit of bringing black people together. And that's important, and we discussed that last week. Now, also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and click the notification button. We ask you to subscribe and click the notification button. If you see us on Sundays, go to the World of Akiba Land, scroll down to the bottom, and click the donate button. That's important anytime you seek to support the community. Tonight, the conversation is, again, the series, The Revolution Inside the Revolution. The revolution inside the revolution. Now, we've been talking about this, and last week, if y'all was watching, we talked about guerrilla warfare. And what does the guerrilla warfare look like in the environment that we're in today? And before then, we discussed the perfect storm. And the perfect storm is the combination of timing, technology, and leadership. Again, timing, technology, and leadership. And during last week's segment, when we talked about the guerrilla warfare and social media marketing and how we are to use this element to reach black people across the globe, we said that if we do not use this information or this technology, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're definitely doing ourselves a disservice. Now, the brother I'm bringing on today, I can remember nights where I was sitting up learning this technology, and I was trying to figure out what would it look like when I go live. What would it look like when we start streaming and talking to people across states, across nations, around the globe? What would it look like? And there was one brother, it was two actually, and I was trying to get Brother Cardinal Swad on the meeting with us. I kept calling and sending text messages to this brother because at one point I couldn't see a like mind or a like spirit from the root of the tree in which we came other than these two brothers. And so I worked with Cardinal Swat for a while, but I wanted to get him up here to talk about the things that he has in motion, and I couldn't get him. But this brother who's been speaking, this African who chose to speak, and he is utilizing, how I'm going to point to this right here, right? Utilizing that guerrilla warfare. He said, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to learn something that white folks is not naturally teaching us. And I'm going to use it for the betterment of my people. And so he created an entire experience and he connected it to the vision that he calls the black gold Nation, let me welcome my brother, Tamani, to the African Speaks. Man, my good brother, how you doing?
I'm doing, man. With that intro, I'm looking for somebody else. Like we got
Nah,
somebody
nah,
else.
it's you, brother. It's funny because you Kalonji, I speak to Kalonji a lot, and he used to be on the show, and he used to be my co-host, and we used to invite individuals to come, and life has a way of taking liberators off focus just for a little bit. And so,
Yeah.
even though that happens, we still told the rope. But I always told him, I said, dude, I said, there are two people who can pull me to the carpet and check me hard. And I will always listen. And that's Cardinal Swad and that's Brother Tamani. Because they were the only ones I saw up here trying to figure this out. You know, I said,
That's right.
we saw, we had something that we wanted to add to the liberation struggle. And we said, we need to figure out how to do it. And I remember nights, and I remember texting you on the side, like, brother, we got to get some better life. You know what I mean? We was going back and forth. And so I said, now is the time when I'm dealing with the topic, the revolution inside the revolution, to bring you in. Because in our environments, we're having issues with that transgenerational movement of the Holy Spirit where the younger generation is being charged to pick up the mantle and carry this on in terms of a
Right.
programmatic way, you know. And so I wanted to give you a chance. I was listening to your podcast, and you said, you talk about being the direct student of Cardinal and Bayou, and that
That's right.
indirect student of Jemoji or Baby Ajiman.
Yeah.
What were the elements in place for you to receive that spiritual transition of when it comes to black leadership towards liberation?
You talking about what I got from Cardinal Bayou specifically?
Yes.
And okay, well, the first one that jumps out has to be the living example of what black leadership looks like.
Mm.
Working with a brother every single day whose commitment is bar none, who woke up early, stayed up late, and was committed to the mission of the liberation struggle, the freedom, salvation, the empowerment of black people. So that would be the first thing, having someone that I can look to as an example of what black leadership looks like, and his commitment not just to the movement and the struggle, but his commitment to being the best brother he could be intellectually,
Mm.
understanding his material, understanding his discipline, understanding his religion, and always trying to not to better himself so he can better the message, so he can better the people, i.e., the group, so that as a nation we could all move forward. So that would be the two greatest things: having an example I could look to, having someone who was obviously committed to the mission, and having someone who was not big on excuses. At the end of the day, did you do your part? Did you complete your assignment? And if you did, you need to have a very, very, very good reason why. Because, as I always say, which of course comes out of the shrine, nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of black people. So whatever you got going on, it can't come before that. So that would be those would be the greatest things I got from Cardinal Bayou.
And we're going to come back to that, the statement of accountability.
Yep.
Now, when you talk about Jemoji Abebe Ajime, because as we know it, it is our 68th anniversary as a church
That's
community.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk about the indirect influence that he had on you.
It would be the same as Cardinal and Bayou, but to know that there was a brother who was so different than the traditional black leaders. I'm from South Carolina. When I got to Houston, I left South Carolina on a Saturday. I left on a Friday, got here on a Saturday, came to the church the next day, joined the church, and was an active member for 20 years. I thought we have a very big, large 2-story house institution right across the street from the church. I thought coming from how I envisioned most black leaders being. I thought Jaramogi lived in that house because it was a humongous house. He was the founder, only to learn that he lived in a two-bedroom apartment above the office of the Maccabees. Which is like, so that right there let me know this brother was different.
Right.
He was different in how he thought about himself, his place in the struggle, and trying to be that example. And to know that in 1953, he was charged with a mission that had him leaving his home church because he felt that they weren't doing enough to affect the lives of black people. So to learn how this brother lived his life, to learn how serious he was in 1953.
Come on.
And his understanding of utilizing Christianity, because that's where black people were. We were going to church, we were Christians, but understanding that the current path, the current structure, the current setup of Christianity at that time, of the black church at that time, wasn't going to liberate and or free black people. So there needed to be a new direction for the black church.
The church. Woo.
Right?
Talk about the book.
So, being directly influenced, tutored, mentored, molded, shaped, honed by Cardinal Bayou, and to know that his leader, his mentor, his tutor, the living, breathing master teacher, as I say, father of liberation theology, was right there, in the midst of it all. It was absolutely overwhelming and amazing. And when we have the conversation about the leadership election, that approach is a direct understanding of Jaramogi the man. As powerful and as bad as he was, the church was powerful because of our leadership.
Exactly.
Brother, you know as well as I do that the leadership that we had, it's unfortunate, it's sad that more people don't know about the kind of leadership, the caliber of the leaders that we had, male and female, right?
Wow.
So I understand that we're not going to go anywhere if you don't have the right leadership. And that leadership has to be focused, they have to be committed, they got to be on the same page. And everyone must understand that at the end of the day, nothing is more sacred. And that's how we have to live our lives.
Amen. Amen. Nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people. I love that.
That's right.
I live that.
Every day, all day.
Live that. Now, one of the things you made the statement, you talked about how Jaramogi had to leave the church to create the vision that was placed inside of him. And
that's right.
Connects towards the statement of, the revolution inside the revolution. Because his journey looked different, because we were always in a civil rights movement. From day one, the minute they dropped us on the soil 400 years ago, we started fighting to get back. And then we were trying to figure things out. And there were key things in history that showed that black people never gave up that spirit in terms of that connection to God and community and the motherland. And so being here and claiming a stake in the country we built, we said, look, we're not going to be your slaves no more. So we got the civil rights movement. And in that, Jaramogi said, you know what? This is not going to free us, but I'm going to come up with something else. And so it was always, we live, like you said in one of your podcasts, you said, this is war. We live in a state of liberation as a people, but it looks different sometimes from generation to generation.
Sure.
So he had to break off to do what he wanted to do. So now the thing I want you to share is the Black Gold Nation. Because that's I want you to talk about, where were you in your experience when you got that vision to be a revolution inside the revolution? Go ahead.
When I felt, it was 2016, and I felt in my spirit that black people were looking for something. I don't know if it was the movie Black Panther. I don't know if it was Barack Obama. I don't know what it was, but there was something in the energy field that spoke to my spirit, in that black people, my people, were looking for answers, looking for solutions. and we didn't know what to do. I was listening to an interview, and this was probably what really led me to start writing my book, which led to the development of the Black Gold Nation. There's a commentator, Van Jones. He was asked by a white woman, well, what do black people do now? And he said, I don't know. Well, I know. I know because of my time, my experience in the Shrines of the Black Madonna. So, like most members who have spent significant time in the church, we got a lot of stuff right. But of course, we made some mistakes like any national, international organization does.
Right.
My focus in starting the Black Gold Nation was I wanted to bring all of that stuff that I felt we got right, that I know we got right. And I want to marry that with other black people who also got some things right, and deliver to black people a platter, if you will, of proven solutions to move the black nation, the larger black nation of black people forward. So I felt like I had something to offer. I felt like my people were looking. So I put pen to paper. I wrote the book Black Gold Devalued, but I realized that, of course, a book is not going to change anything. Black people write books and read books all day long, yet we're still not free. So there had to be some actions to go along with that book, which is why I started the Black Gold Nation, because I knew that although I didn't want to, and I still struggle with it now, I knew that there had to be some action to go along with that book if any of this stuff is really going to work out, and that's how it all got started.
Let's build on that, because of course I have my checklist of questions, but we're gonna make this natural. When you
Sure.
the part where you said sometimes I struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that means going forward and stepping out on faith, trying to complete a vision that was given to you.
Sure.
Talk about those struggles.
Well, yeah, from the beginning, Brother Ajay, I never wanted to be in the front. I always wanted to find, when I said I wanted to find other people that were doing things, find other leaders, I wanted to find them, connect with them, and push them forward so they can do what they're already doing, so they can be seen, and I can support them. So that was the idea. I was never trying to be in the front. I was never trying to be in the spotlight. And as quiet as it's kept, I prefer to be in the background. You know, I don't mind being behind the curtain at all. But, you know, the brother who edited my book and helped me put it out there, he said, brother, it's not going to work if you don't get out there, because you got to put a face on it. So
right.
From that point to now, I have sister. I'm not sure if have you ever met Fundi Fabu in Houston?
In the Houston? Mm-mm.
Yeah, she's a 30+ member of the Shrine. She's most certainly my spiritual mother, but she's most certainly she's right behind Cardinal and Bayou as it relates to mentor, impact, somebody I look to, someone who keeps me on the straight and narrow. And she's been telling me for years, you got to stop running from God's calling. You've been given these tasks. You've been given this mission. This is your vision. You have that. You hear Joe Moji's voice, because I hear Joe Moji's voice.
I do.
This is your thing to do.
Yeah.
This is your cross to bear. And you have it for a reason. You don't have it because you can't do it. You have it because you were given everything that's needed so it can be done. But of course, being a young brother from South Carolina, still struggle with niggerization. I'm like, me? Surely not me.
Right? You looking around. Right.
So, I'm coming. I was talking to my mother today. She sent me a birthday card. You know, I turned 51 a few days ago, man. About 2 weeks ago. And she sent me a card, and I'm like, although I'm still struggling with accepting the reality of who I am and who I am supposed to be as it relates to moving my people to the next step. I have to stop running from that gift, running from that blessing, running from that responsibility, because it is what it is. And the only reason I struggle with it, or I have struggled with it, because I do not consider myself to be an egocentric person. I am not trying to be the person that's shining, trying to brag, trying to bling bling or whatever, because that's just not my thing.
Right.
But if you're in front, if you're leading, if you're guiding and teaching and training, that doesn't mean you have to be, the person that's always bragging, talking, blah blah blah. That you don't have to be that way.
Right.
So I think anybody. I joking with my mother on the phone. I'm like, I'm like Jonah. I'm like, look, I ain't trying to do all that.
Right. Right.
But if you know anything about the Bible, all the prophets were like, that ain't me.
Right.
Even Jesus on the cross, let us come past. So it is what I told you. I'm in good company in that it's difficult to accept what you've been given and run with it when it's such a huge task. But I know, brother. I know to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing. All of my trials, tribulations, travels, everything I've learned from trying to start businesses in corporate America, in the military. Mm-hmm. Brother, when I tell you everything that I have learned has culminated in where I am now, and I'm using all of it.
Come on.
I'm using all of it. And of course, you don't know the things that you are going through are preparing you for a bigger purpose.
Right.
But I'm telling you, man, all that stuff, I'm using it now.
Right. Now, I know for me, they named me Ajay Kono. Kono means it's my turn, because I always had that attitude like, well, when do I get a chance?
That's right.
When do I get a chance? You know what I'm saying? And it was because I was seeking to define myself in God. Like you said, I was sitting around that experience of an entire community who gave the example of leadership. And for me, I was like, well, is it my turn yet? Is it my turn now? And whatever it was, because there's not a position in the church I didn't try to hold or submit myself to. Waiting for the call on my life where the vision that was given to me was divine. Right. It wasn't coming from somebody else telling me what to do. It was that inner spirit. And the minute that spirit hit me, and I was sitting in church. There's a couple of things that happened that made my transition, and one of them was sitting in church, and Melinda was preaching, and he said, a man who is called by God, when it don't matter what's happening around him, he cannot stop doing what he's called to do. It ain't about ego. And there's a lot of conversation in the liberation and struggle in this environment about personality worship, where if this personality is not doing it, I can't be a part of it. Or if this personality that I don't like is not doing it, I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah.
But there came a moment where even in your struggles, because I get it too, you don't even understand. Every time before I go live, I got to say a prayer and be like, look, I asked the ancestors, y'all got to work through me, because this is not me. This is not about me. This is about us. So if I could disappear, every time we sang in the choir, if I did a dance ensemble, if I acted with the Kuumba players, I told you I did everything. Being an MOR trader, driving out of town with my own team for myself.
That's right.
I had to ask the ancestors to allow me to disappear for them and God to work through, so it's not about me. And so at a point, I accepted this is my call. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When I saw you and the SWAT up there, I was like, yo, they hear him. Like you said, I can hear Jeramoji. I gave a whole testimony where Jeramoji walked in my room and was like, brother, you ain't doing what you could be doing. And I went out. Talk about that moment, that burning bush moment where it switched. And you said, you know what? Like you said, it's my turn. I gotta do this, regardless of who's in or who's out.
Yeah, and unlike you, I wasn't necessarily looking for my turn. I was being me.
That was me.
I was doing what I was doing. But again, when you get the call, you get the call. I knew from the experience I had been blessed to be a part of. I tell people that if anybody was active in the church for at least 1 year, you have more of an understanding of nation building than 99.9% of black people. Woo. Because that's what the church was about. Nation building every day, time ritual, 7 days a week. we did something to move black people forward toward the liberation and salvation of our own people every single day. And if your time ritual wasn't right, the group was going to help you get it right, because nothing is more important than the liberation struggle. So I wasn't looking, brother. I was compelled because I was given a charge. There are things that we experience in the church that just one thing, MTI, Missionary Training Institute.
Said it. That's it.
A safe place to live for black people. Period.
Come on.
And that's just one thing.
Come on.
What if black people had a safe environment? What if black children don't have to worry about getting shot?
Come on.
Black children don't worry about being sold drugs, being raped, being molested, or whatever. What if the community has a place to come together to eat? What if there's a process to break down our issues so we can become closer? What if you got somebody to talk to? What if you have examples of righteous leadership? What if there's institutions that we can use for both ourselves, our personal use, and for the public to come together? What if we had a collection of bookstores? It's just thing after thing after thing after. So I knew, brother, that okay, I have some experiences. I've been a part of an organization that I consider to be quite revolutionary. I need to do something, and there's something that I need to do. I am not saying that it is the answer. I don't say that BCN is the answer, because I do not know that. But I can tell you what, it is an answer. And It is a quite complete answer, more so than any other answer I've seen. But that's not to say that we were perfect, because we weren't. Right. That's not to say that we got everything right, because we didn't. And that was the whole point of saying that, okay, well, I know my experience. I know what I've been through. I know what I've been taught. I know what I've experienced. I know what I've seen. I'm going to put that much out there. And I'm going to look for other black people who have something that they want to offer via their experiences. So we can, as much as possible, cover as many bases as we can as a group, right, as a unified people, right? So I guess, Brother Ajay, my burning bush experience had to be at that moment that I felt that black people were looking. I felt black people were ready for something, although we have no idea what that looks like. I know what it means to live in a community that's all black trying to do something. It may not have been Black Wall Street, but it was heaven on earth. The closest thing to heaven on earth black people will ever see. Well, because you have a group of black people who are trying to be a group. Amidst everything that you bring to the table, we're trying to be a group from the cradle to the grave. I show people sometimes. I should show you a picture of my kids in the nursery with their Keebaland Academy uniform, nursery uniforms on in red, holding hands, Black Jesus in the background. Because that's how we roll.
That's it.
My kids didn't know anything other than
that's it.
From the time they could talk, they knew the group. They came into the group environment, and I tell people that our youth, at least in Houston, I know the setup was different in Atlanta and Detroit, but in Houston, the youth had their own apartment complex in the center of all the other apartment complexes.
Yes.
Come on, brother. Who does that?
Who does that?
I mean, really. Who does that? Right. Who's thinking on that level? I tell people that black people are they're really blown away by Dr. George, the guru, post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's niggerization. We've been talking about that since the 80s.
Come on.
Come on. I showed a sister a document, the Black Church as Change Agent. Because that's a part of the Black Gold Nation. This thing is built on the foundation that's been proven. Why change it?
We
still niggerize. We ain't free. Change it for what? And when I showed her that document, she was blown away. And I said, sister, this document came out in 1975.
Come on.
Brother, the church, we know the church isn't where it was. We know the church is not the same as it was. But even now, with the way it's rolling now, we are still light years ahead of most black people.
Most black people. This is absolutely true. This is absolutely true.
So if we're more than Jaramogi passed in 2000, it's 2021. Our founder passed 21 years ago. We're still light years ahead of most black people.
Come on.
So that means, to me, we still have something to offer.
Yes.
And if we still have something to offer, then damn it, we should be offering it.
Wow.
Because we're still not free.
Come on. Right. Now, with that being said, because that was, I wrote down because look, I'm gonna coin some of your phrases on the show some other time. You spend 1 year in the black nation and you
Brother.
know more in nation building than 99.9% of the black population. Woo!
Yeah.
That's nothing but pure truth. Now, what I want you to talk about is that vision, because we can see what Jaramoji's vision produced.
That's right.
Now, as your vision was birthed in you and you came up with the Black Gold Nation, talk about what is the Black Gold Nation and some of the similarities and differences from the Shrines of the Black Madonna.
Ooh.
Yes, a lot. So we
Yeah,
can talk
that's a
about
lot.
just explain the organization, the Black Gold Nation first.
All right, so the foundation of the Black Gold Nation is based on the church's program of liberation and salvation for Black people. We are only going to do that if we have a committed group of Black people that are willing to work with one another despite the differences, despite the baggage, despite the trauma, despite the 400 years of oppression that this government, this system that we're born into has forced on us. We understood then, and I work every day to get back to understand now that without one another we're not going to make it. So when I said earlier that we got some things right, those things that we got right, of course, they absolutely must be a part of the Black Gold Nation moving forward. And let me just say, Black Gold, I coined the title Black Gold for three primary reasons. One, because of the book that I wrote, Black Gold Devalued. That's Black Gold, our melanin, our Black Gold being devalued by the system. That's the first reason. Second reason, white people have declared us inferior. And via 400 years of operant conditioning, we have accepted that declaration of black inferiority. So saying Black Gold is me telling Black people that you are not what they have said you are. You have value. Your value is your melanin, which is Black Gold. So I want to remind our people that you are much more than they say you are and they have said you are, because as quiet as it's kept, you're the oldest thing in human existence. We've been around for a very long time. We have a very long history. We've forgotten most of the things that we've done
We've
because we've done so
well,
much, right? But of course, that's never taught, so you don't know that. So I've tried to take those concrete things that I think we got right, the things that affect Black people the most, which is individualism, which is acting in a manner that's counter your own forward progress and survival, acting like a slave. Those things that keep us from becoming a group. So the group process, Kua, devotionals, working as a group, understanding what a slave culture does to the mind of a people who have Stockholm syndrome. I want to ensure that those concrete things that we got right, Black people have a chance to benefit from, because those things are still important, because we're still not free.
Well,
along with that, again, you know what it's like to live in an environment where everybody's trying to be on the same page. You know what it's like to have children in an environment that they are safe. My kids, and I'm sure your kids were the same way, my kids won't worry about anything because there was nothing to worry about.
Exactly.
Everybody's door is open because you live in a community that you got your own security. You got your own holy order of security.
come on.
So you're not worried about certain things that other people are worried about because of the environment that you live in. So those concrete things of Kua, devotions, group process, understanding the importance and the value of an MTI, a safe space, understanding the importance of leadership that's committed to a mission that's about liberating, saving Black people, understand the importance of ritual, understand the importance that we are an African people and we need to be connected to Africa in multiple ways. All of that stuff, those are the concrete things that I have made sure must be a part of the Black Gold Nation, because they have proven to work for Black people. And again, if we're not free yet,
Come on.
and those things we've been using for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years,
Well,
then why should we stop using them? We shouldn't. So those are the things that I have transitioned over because black people still need all of that stuff. Some of the differences, I understand that one thing we didn't do extremely well is market ourselves. Every time I see a picture or I hear Malcolm X's voice or watch a speech, I think of Cardinal Lou. I think of Cardinal Sondai. I think of Cardinal Ndiwe. I think of General Masai. Because you know, brother IJ, you know as well as I do that our leadership was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
Could hold their own with anybody.
Anybody.
Right? But the world,
never
the
knew.
black world doesn't know who these people are.
Never knew. You're going to make me cry online.
Hey, brother, it's true. I mean, it's true, right? So we did not do a good job of marketing ourselves. So this time around, I have to make sure that I'm not only looking for black people who have something to offer, black people who've also been touched by a higher power to do something for black people. We have to market ourselves as an organization, as a movement, as well as those other black people. Because regardless of how powerful they might be in their own right, they can do nothing without a group.
Right.
They might be specialists in their fields, but they need other people to watch their six, to watch their back, who bring other disciplines to the table. So I understand that black people are being attacked in multiple ways, from multiple angles or multiple fronts. That means we got to have people who know what they're doing to teach black people, to train black people to push back against all of that.
Right.
So the Shrine was very exclusive. We were very to ourselves, and we were quite, I'm gonna say, arrogant. You know, if you don't see it our way, if you don't do it our way, then the hell with you. You know, we are the Shrines of the Black Madonna.
We've been there.
And although there's a certain pride in that, there's also certain folly as well. That's a mistake. Because if you're trying to save and liberate black people, and you are you got your nose turned up at black people, then that's a problem. So I've tried to identify those kinds of things that I think that we didn't get right. Not being open to doing more with other groups. Not marketing ourselves better, not taking our marketing to another level, not being open to doing more in the business realm. You know, I have no idea why, and I've most recently learned why.
Come on.
The Shrine didn't have more businesses in the community, given how old we were and how long we were around. But then I learned, Brother IJ, that back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, we had a lot of businesses.
Right. I was going to say, there was tons of businesses according to what I read.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because when I joined in 1992,
it won't do no more.
Those businesses.
Right.
And like you just said, MR was it.
That's it.
Don't get me wrong, MR was phenomenal. The amount of money that the church raised from black people. Black people say, "Here I am, Lord, send me."
Send me. You know? We all went.
Brother, Freedom Train every weekend. You know, it was very difficult to get started, but once I got started, when I set up my table, my can, brother, I'm going.
That's it. That's it.
I only took a break to use the bathroom.
That's it.
Rocking and rolling. You know.
That's it.
You know, and AJ, when you think about it, brother, when you think about the level of commitment that you had to have
to do that,
to do MOR, black people.
Yes.
Standing in front of a Walmart for 12 hours asking for donation to build a black nation. Who does that, right?
Who does? Look, who does it in an all-white neighborhood?
who leaves on a Wednesday night to go to cities multiple states away?
Right.
In the cold, in the rain. You talking about the post office? That's trying to black man, right? So understanding that. And I'm going to be honest, Ajay, I don't know, brother, if we will ever see that level of commitment from black people, for black people. Again, I don't know, but I do know.
Okay.
I do know that I know what commitment looks like.
Well,
I know what commitment entails. I know how to what we need to do to get to that level. I think we can have it, but it's going to be different.
One of the things that I'll add. I believe that level of commitment is still possible. Still possible as long as the vision is solid. Sure. One of the things that Jeramogi or Baby Ajiman was able to do was to be able to paint the vision of liberation, where we were able to let everything go and say, I can live 24 hours in every day of my life in service to God and the black nation to build the vision down the road. And I can, as long as I commit to God and the black nation and believe that there is nothing more sacred than the liberation of black people, because the vision was absolutely clear. It's when that vision gets cloudy that you can't get that commitment. When black people are, and I remember one conversation, we were riding with Jeramoji, and I think we were coming from Houston at one time. He said, "Man, y'all got it hard." And I was like, "Excuse me, sir?" He said, "I underestimated the power of the slave culture." He said, "In the future, this new generation won't even understand we second-class citizens. They're gonna be so tied up into life." He said, "It's gonna take y'all a minute to prove to them that they're still slaves."
Right, right.
And so,
and that's the difficulty of those of us who are still trying to do this thing now.
Come on.
Because our people are, we think we're free because of all the distractions. I can go to the store, I can shop when you shop, I can buy a car, I can do like that. Now understanding that you can only do that because they allow you to do that much.
Right.
You don't have the power to affect somebody else's life.
Well,
you don't have the power to live anywhere you want. You don't have the power to have whatever job you want. We still exist in an environment that's hostile in enemy territory. But because of the illusions of freedom, I always say to black people, we live in the matrix and we don't know it.
And because we're in the matrix.
Right. We don't even know it, right?
Right.
So those of us who understand that you know, we are Neo, we are Morpheus, we are Trinity. We see what we've been awakened. We have to introduce, we have to awaken other people, but then we have to show them the reality of what this life really looks like. And it's difficult to do that when people are running away from the truth. People don't want to hear the truth. People want to go to work, go home, and I'm done because I'm off work. The white man has allowed me to be off at this time, and I'm good. The white man has given me the weekend, so I'm good. But whenever something bad happens to black people, we want to be up in arms. We want to protest. We want to march them down the street, not understanding that those things that we're upset about would never end if you never put in time to build something for yourself so that it can end.
Come on.
White oppression is always going to be what it is toward people of color because that's what it's always been. The relationship has always been antagonistic from day one. Right? People say that the system is broke. We got to fix it. No, it ain't broken. It was designed to be that way.
Right. It is what it's supposed to be. Right.
And it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And that's another reason why we have to be committed to building something new. And for us who've been in environments where we've experienced something new, something different, my charge personally is to build what I've been privy to be a part of because black people need to be safe.
Come on.
Black people need their own institutions.
Come on.
Our children need another program that's preparing us not to go get a job, but to run cities.
Cities, come on.
You know, and if we're not focused on, it's like you just said, Jeramoji gave us the vision, but along with that vision, Ajay, we had a physical, tangible reality of what we were trying to do.
Yes.
And for black people, you have to show black people something as it relates to what you are trying to do. And when I used to go out to do COR in the community, I would get into debates with brothers about this and that and trying to be deep. And I could always say, Ajay, well, 5317 MLK Boulevard, we got some buildings.
Right.
We got a community.
Right. We
got some apartment complexes. We got institutions.
Now we can say we got the largest black-owned farm in the United States.
In the United States, right. So what are you building? And I don't say that to put people down because that's not my thing. That's not how I get down. I'm trying to make a point.
Awareness.
And oftentimes, you know, more often than not, like you said earlier, our people don't know. We don't have that vision.
Right.
We don't know what safety looks like. We don't understand what freedom is. We don't know what black power is.
Come on.
Because we've never been educated to what that is, and hell, we don't even know if we need it because we think we're free.
We're free.
We think everything is fine.
Right.
So if everything is fine, why would we need black power?
Come on.
You know, I was silly ass. Excuse me, I'm not sure.
No, that's all right. It's a grown show. We at war, and sometimes when you at war, you got to say what you got to say.
Sometimes you got to curse. we're so silly with our understanding of our reality, that we really think everything not everything is okay, but it's not as bad as we make it out to be.
Right.
We don't understand that we are running the risk, and I don't know if we're not already there, IJ, but we are most certainly running the risk of becoming a permanent underclass in a country that our people built. In other countries around the world, like India, third world countries, whatever caste system you were born into, you're going to die in that caste system, because there's no way to get out. So how can we build the richest nation on the planet? How can we allow them to do what they've done to us, whereby our physical, intellectual, spiritual labor is the foundation for this thing, and not understand that we have to do that for ourselves as well, because this isn't ours. It was built by us. It wasn't built for us. So I say that everything the white man has, the black man also has to have, because the white man's thing is not for you. It's for them. So we got to have our own institutions. We got to have our own communities. We got to have our own multi-billion-dollar businesses. We got to have our own foreign policies. We got to have our own spiritual systems, our own security systems, our own agricultural systems, because the white man has proven to you, I'm about to use the N-word, silly Negro, he's proven to you that he does not care about you, and his stuff is not for you.
Right.
But of course, black people love to a fault. We forgive to a fault. We're so because of the religion that we've been given, because most of us haven't received that new direction for the black church.
Wow.
We are loving our enemy to death, and that death is ours. So most of us, of course, we don't think of Jesus as a revolutionary black Messiah, because if we did, we'd behave differently, because we will also be trying to be revolutionary black Messiahs. If you believe Jesus is white, mild-mannered, loving everybody, and that's your image, that's who you're supposed to be trying to emulate, that's who you want to go hang out with once you leave the physical into the spiritual, then that's the life you're going to lead. But of course, for us, our Jesus, our example, our revolutionary example was a brother who came for black people to do a black thing for black people. Jesus said, I come not to the world, but unto the lost tribe of Israel. Surprise, surprise, the lost tribe of Israel, African people.
Come on, talk about it.
Right? But of course, we weren't given that Jesus. You know, the Jesus that we were given, you know, have you doing some Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey kind of stuff, right?
Well,
you know, so that example matters. Right. Your education, your upbringing, your understanding of the reality that you live in, it matters. And like you just said, our people are confused because we're not given the truth of the reality that we live in, and someone has to do everything we can to give our people that truth. And I am trying to give our people that truth, but I understand that I can't do it by myself. Impossible. No one person or one organization can give black people what black people need. We absolutely must find common ground with brothers and sisters who are trying to do something, and say, let's find where we can work together. Let's find where we do agree. And let that be what we focus on. Because we can always find disagreement. We can always find where we don't agree. But we have to have an understanding that's fundamental enough for us to realize that, okay, we have a common enemy. And that common enemy will put aside his issues with other white nations, with other white people, to make sure you black man, you black woman, you black child will never rise. And then they'll get back to their argument after they deal with you. We got to do the same thing, put our differences aside and build something for ourselves. So with the Black Gold Nation, I'm trying to take what I got from the Shrines of the Black Madonna, what I got from Carmen Bayou, Jaramogi Bebe, and all of the leadership. Marry that with other things that black people got right, because we weren't the only black group that was trying to do some black stuff. Of course, we had things that other people did not have, but that doesn't negate other people's quote-unquote blackness. So I'm saying, if we're going to make it, we have to do what we can to make it together. I understand everybody's not going to make it. I understand everybody don't even want to make it. I understand Pookie wants to be Pookie. Okay, the white man has a cage for you. If you want to go be a nigga, then go be a nigga. He got something for you. I guarantee you.
That's it.
I guarantee you. So you know, we got to understand that, you know, it's not for everybody. It's never been everybody.
Right.
It's never going to be everybody, but that's
Right.
okay because we don't need everybody. We need a critical mass. We need a cadre
Come
of
on.
black people who understand this thing has to happen, and nothing is more important, nothing is more sacred than this thing, because this thing is going to allow my children to live with dignity and power,
Come on.
so they don't have to endure what I endured, what my parents endured, what my grandparents endured, because I have put them in a position to have power. And I have raised them in the fashion to understand that this power that you have to use to defend yourself, feed yourself, clothe yourself, and do your own thing. And you cannot depend on other people. And unfortunately, our people have been raised to rely upon other people, to believe in other people, to put ourselves second. And of course, all of that is counterproductive, kind of revolutionary in slave culture, which means we cannot do that.
Well, now, one of the things you added was one thing that we don't do well or didn't do well. And
Mm-hmm.
this has been literally my fight.
Yeah.
Man, when
Yeah.
I tell you some of the elders or the mentors in my life here in Atlanta, as time went on, even when you was down here at one point, they were telling me, brother, you're gonna have to pick up this mountain and rock with it. He said, because I did all I could do, and that was the upliftment of the need for
Yeah.
technology. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Being able
Yeah.
to market who we are
Yeah.
via the new vehicle of communication. And
That's right.
so even now we are, there is no clear vision for us that
Yep.
says this is how we need to present ourselves to the world so that we can continue as a community. Because if we don't, our church and our community turns into an old folks home.
That's right. Yep.
And the sad part is it's looking like an old folks home.
Brother, you said turning into. I'm thinking turned into, because I don't know what the average age of the members are, but when I look at who's here in Houston, brother, they're older than I am. I just turned 51, so
Yes.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how has the marketing and technology piece and using the new vehicles to
Yeah.
communicate to people helped the black
Yeah.
old nation?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, brother, it's unfortunate this truth I'm about to share with you, which was it's a sad lesson, man.
Come
I
on.
remember before Amazon, Ajay.
Right.
Before Amazon.
Right. I was out here.
The brother who regional COR coordinator, Walamu Siddiqui, he and I were trying to get the leadership to understand that the bookstore needed to be online.
Mm.
This is before Amazon. They didn't see the vision, didn't understand how important that technology would be, didn't understand how many books we could sell online, didn't understand the power of our brand and how we could build that. Unfortunately, we lost that opportunity. Here comes Amazon. And like that's what we were trying to do, with the bookstore and whatnot. So what we try to do, I try to make sure we are on as many platforms as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It is not my wheelhouse, so I'm not a fan of some of the platforms like Instagram. I still don't kind of get it. I'm kind of used
No.
to Facebook. But I understand, and this is where that leadership thing comes in. This is where the leadership election comes in, because I know that what I do is what I do. What RJ does is what RJ does.
Right.
RJ has expertise in this area that black people need, the Black Gold Nation needs. So we are trying to not only find a brother RJ, if not the brother RJ, we're trying to find people who are already doing what we need to be done on a larger scale. So if I can identify, if I can locate that brother RJ, and we can have a conversation, and we agree that, okay, we can do this part together because this is what you do, this is what we need. And not just that, because it is a national marketing need that we have. I can't ask a brother RJ to do this, brother, and run with it. I have to build a group around him. So as I am trying to find and work with and collaborate with a brother RJ, I have to also build a group, a cabinet around his national department people who speak his language,
Mm.
people who can share the same vision, people who we can have conversations with and say, okay, well, this is where we are, but this is where we're going because in 10 years we want to be here.
Right.
And Brother I.J. can says we're going to turn left as it relates to media, marketing, public relations. And his cabinet, his team, his group, his cadre will say, amen. Not only are we going to help you turn left, but we're going to train all the black people who are down with the Black Gold Nation as to how to turn left.
How to turn left. Right.
Right. Because you can't just say to black people, turn left. You got to explain to black people why we turn left. But more importantly, if black people are committed to the mission and the goal of the Black Gold Nation, they committed to the leadership, they trust the leadership. When leadership says turn, we turn. Why? Because we trust leadership.
Right.
But we can't afford to do that in one space. If we're going to do marketing, if we're going to be on as many platforms as possible, if we want to have podcasts, Black Gold Media, our own news outlets, if we want to make every team on the ground of black people who are into media, if they're going to be our affiliates, our Black Gold Media Channel affiliates to cover the news for black people in that city, because that's where you are, then it takes people and training to get that group there. But that's just one space.
Right.
We still got to eat.
Right.
We still got to protect ourselves.
Right.
We still got to be spiritually connected to one another in higher power. We still got to have foreign policy with African nations. We still have to understand economics and finance. We still got stuff we got to do that Brother Tamani can't do because Brother Tamani is one person. Brother IJ can't do because Brother IJ is one person. But there are black people out here who not only can do it, are doing it, want to do it, have the ability to do it, but are looking for spaces to do it. But of course, they don't know that we exist. So marketing for us is very, very, very important. And Brother Ajay, we have the undaunting task of building an international movement.
Wow.
To build power for black people.
Say it.
Below the radar,
yes.
Which is impossible. We can't build this thing without technology.
Right.
But if you use technology too much, of course, eyes are going to see you and people are going to be watching. But there's some things you just can't get away from.
But by that, right. And it's funny that you talk about that because that's one of my foreplays. Do you know what I mean? That's me. It is a way, and I talked about it last week. It is a way. When I first started down the mission of saying, you know what, I got to create what I don't see.
That's right. That's
I
right.
sat down and I was like, and I remember calling Cardinal Aswad with tears, dude, because I was ready to be like, it's time for me to go. Yeah. Because there's nothing here utilizing my skill and talent. And as much as I said, hey, there's something that we need to add, nobody was listening.
That's right.
And I can tell you, I still have, dating back to 2000, the programs that I wrote up and submitted to the Assembly of Cardinals. Mm-hmm. The programs. Brother Bakiba recently talked about transparency with the world of Akiba Land and everything I'm doing. I said, well, brother, I wrote everything down. I know what I'm building. What you see is, don't be shocked at what you see. It's because you hadn't read the blueprint. But I put the blueprint together before I started, just in case I have to resubmit my request to the Assembly of Cardinals. It's all written down. Right. And when I called him, I was like, yo, just like he had called Jeremiah Baby Ajim and said he wasn't being used. He wasn't being to the fullest capacity, and he felt like he's missing out on the Holy Spirit in terms of action. And Jeremiah Baby Ajim put a focal point on him and said, I got you. Hence, we have Cardinal Aswad, right?
That's right.
When I called him, he said, who are they to tell you what God has called you to do? Who are they for you to allow anyone to stop you doing what God has called you to do? And that's why I said there are two people that if they tap me on the shoulder and say, "Brother, your slip's showing." I could hear them, because in the midst of that war, where back in the, and again, I would see you, and I was on the other side of 1250 when you was on that side. Right? And at that moment, I was designing a national counter movement using high cameras, technology, everything, and I would present it to the church, and it was sold in all 3 regions. The first 100 prints was sold in 15 minutes. And the quality was mind blowing. I raised money. I said, look, we can't leave it up to the system to send our kids to a college tour. So I'm going to put this together to raise money to send our kids to a college tour. And it actually worked. One love to G-Lo and a sister, because they were the ones who took the kids.
Okay.
I couldn't go.
Amen.
But
Right.
it was when I finally came to a SWAT, that was in the early 2000s when I finally came back, and that may have been like 9 years ago, where I said, dude, I'm home and ain't nothing in the house for me. He said, well, what did God call you to do, and why are you waiting?
Yeah.
And so the mantra, I can show you better than I can tell you, jumped in my spirit. And so using technology, and that's what you said in it when you talked about you can't see it. I presented a mobile app that I designed, created, and went to give it to the community, and they went crazy. But it held the concept that we can use technology, but at a certain state, because after a while, with a million followers, Google will start cutting you checks, and every other company will start cutting you checks for your numbers, just to advertise to, not knowing that they're supporting
That's right.
the liberation of
Yeah.
black people. There's
That's right.
ways to do this. And I said, there will come a time where we're going to have to teach coding and engineering a part of a
That's right.
Keebaland. And
That's
I
right.
created that's called the Black Cyber Generation, where not only are we talking about black excellence on an academic level, but we need to develop builders of this
Right.
new technology. Kids who
That's
can
right.
code, kids who can design apps, kids who can create their own operating systems, servers where we can sit down and support our own websites. This has to be a academic structure. By the time a kid is 15 years old, how many coding languages does he know?
That's right.
And be able to offer that level of wisdom to the greater community. You
That's
know?
right.
And so without that, we can't do it. But there is a way to do it. But when we do it and it's aggressive, there has to be a means of breaking off from the matrix. And the only way you
That's
can
right.
break off from the matrix, if you've developed a core individuals who can reverse engineer an OS system
Yeah.
and create one for themselves. Because
That's
all Microsoft had ever did was take a circuit board that somebody else built
Yeah.
and said, I can take my software to run that hardware.
Right.
Then you got Linux, which is an open source system that is free.
Yes, sir.
It's free. Well,
Yeah.
you could actually use Linux on any computer, and it's free. And you don't have to. It'll give you free upgrades, free data, and you can run Windows
Right.
applications off of it. So I said we gotta think about this technology, and we gotta be able to connect and bring black people together moving forward. But that marketing piece is important, because when Jeramoji came into my room, Marcus Garvey came with him. And I was brother, you can imagine that night that them two walk into the room, and I'm told that technology has now caught up with the concept of a Pan-African world, where the idea of going out, talking to black people directly, it's still good, but it's the slower means of communication.
Sure.
And that social media is the new vehicle, and you need to understand this new vehicle if we're going to help move this forward.
Right.
And that was when I hit that, that's when the call others to Cardinal Swat. I said, I'm writing up my programs. I'm writing up the classes. I'm writing up everything. And they are denying it all. And at that time, for the last 20 years, Atlanta didn't even have a youth program.
Really?
I was the youth program. Everybody because my kid. So I had, well, if I got a kid and y'all got kids, all y'all kids could come to my house anytime. Yeah. Every New Year's, you would see everybody's kid at my house, right?
Okay.
What was the problem was when I said, well, look, if I'm good enough to do it for New Year's, why can't I do it in general?
Right.
Why I can only do it during the chaser? No answer. And that was a conversation with a SWAT. He said, dude, just build it. And hence, when Bakiba came back to the community, because he was ghost for a while, they gave him the reins of Akibaland.
Akibaland.
And he looked at me and he said, brother, you've been the youth program since forever. You know what I mean?
Right.
I came in my early 20s, straight into the nursery, teaching. And I went through all levels and everywhere. And he said, I can't build this without you. And I told him, I said, well, my taste for the politics of Christianity, we still got it.
Yes, sir. Oh, no doubt.
And I said, as long as you let me do what God has called me to do, I'll go to work.
Yeah, get out my way.
Yeah.
Or better yet, don't get in my way.
Don't get in my way. And so that hasn't always happened, but I've learned to say, I'm going around you.
Yeah.
You give me a hill, I'm gonna climb it. You know,
I'm gonna be that scared beetle.
No,
unstoppable.
Right. And so now I want you to talk about, because you're hitting that boundless experience where you're reaching out to black people all over, or black leaderships in areas.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us about the national voting movement that you have going on.
The leadership election, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting, man. That with every time you mention leadership not being supportive, calling us white, having conversations. When I first had the epiphany, when I was given the charge that I need to do this Black Gold Nation thing, and of course, what I am bringing to the table is BCN. Minus the religious tenets, because when you bring religion into it, black people get confused because we don't know what to believe. Got to have the spiritual, which is different than the religious, and that has to be a part. But I'm bringing this BCN 2.0 kind of thing. So of course, I am going to go to the family first and have a conversation with the family first, to say to the family, I'm about to do this thing. I'm not in the church like I was, but I most certainly don't consider the church to be my enemy. I still think we are still trying to get to the same goal. We might be on two different paths, but we have the same foundation. Let's work together to get to that goal. So I went to several people, IJ. And I got a few yeses, verbal yeses. Nothing came after that, but I got more no's than I got yeses.
Of course.
So I'm like, wow, we were in the same church, right? We were trying to do this thing together, right? But for whatever reason, people weren't feeling it. And I told some of the older members, I said, I don't expect you to be the same person you were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, because all of us have gotten older. But it would be a sin for you to allow that knowledge that you have in your head, all those experiences, to go to the grave with you. You have to give that to somebody.
Come on,
your job is to pass that down to somebody. And I understand that physically, because if you were, like I said, if you were in the church for 1 year, you have an understanding. What about 20, 30, 40, 50 years?
Come on.
You know, you've been doing, like you said, 7 days a week.
Come on.
You were doing this thing, you know? So I don't expect people, man, to do what they were doing when they were younger, because they're not young anymore. But you still got that knowledge.
Come on.
You still got that understanding. You have to give that to somebody. I want to create an avenue by which that knowledge can be given to as you were saying earlier, the younger generation. Because revolution is always led by the young, hopefully, intelligently, with the elders overseeing. The young have the energy, they have the vigor, they have the youthfulness. They don't always have the proper understanding, and that is where the elders come in, the people who have more experience. So the whole idea behind the Black Gold Leadership Election, every 4 years, the first one was in 2017. We didn't do it last year because of COVID, but every 4 years we want to have an election by which we bring new people into the movement who say they want to lead, train, heal, guide Black people toward this freedom movement so that we can be free. Again, I understand that the shrine was as one of the reasons the shrine was as powerful as it was because of our leadership. Black people, I don't care what anybody says, Black people need leadership. That doesn't mean that you have to have a code of personality and you need somebody to follow. That means you need people who are going to train you on how to win in this war that you're going into, that you've been losing for 400 plus years.
Come on.
And you are going to continue to lose because you don't know what you're doing. So we need people who know what they're doing in those areas that we just talked about. People who know what they're doing in media, marketing, PR, so that the Black Gold Nation can be represented globally and around the world. We always want to do COR 101 because we want to connect with Black people, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to have a podcast.
Right.
So that we can connect with 100,000 Black people with one show.
Right.
You know, but with that, if we say we got to be able to run cities, then someone has to understand politics and how to build a political machine that doesn't just kick into gear when it's election time, but it's operating 24/7, 365 days a year, because that's how politics works.
Right.
And if that city that we want to run is going to be successful, it absolutely must be connected with an African country so we can have business arrangements.
Come on.
Business trade embargo.
We about to talk about that.
Internships with our youth. Someone has to understand foreign policy. Someone has to understand geopolitics. Otherwise, it's not going to work. How are we going to raise a new kind of African child to understand what power is all about, understand what spirituality is, understand the importance of the group, if someone doesn't understand how to raise a new Black African child? Woo. We got to go find that leadership. How are we going to be able to protect ourselves?
Come on.
Everything we've ever done, brother, and you already know this, everything we've ever done to try and move ourselves forward has always been targeted for destruction. Everything.
Right.
So whenever a Black person has stood up, or a Black group has stood up to do something for Black people, they've always been targeted for exile, incarceration, or assassination. It is what it is.
Right.
So we have to be able to protect ourselves on multiple levels, not just physically, but spiritually,
right,
energetically, intellectually, mentally. We have to be able to protect ourselves on multiple levels. So who's going to teach Black people how to do that? We need leadership. So at the end of the day, if you're going to have a nation, whatever makes a nation function successfully, we need expertise in that arena. From feeding ourselves, to employing ourselves, to advancing our mission, to expanding our cause, to connecting with other people that look like us, all of that. No one person can do all of that. No one organization is focused, as of right now, other than us that I can see, on all of that.
Right.
So what I'm saying via the Black Gold Leadership Election is that we have to find Black people who are ready, willing, and able to do. Black people who understands that at the end of the day, this is about power. What happens to us happens because we don't have the power to stop it.
Come on.
So we got to have some power. But if we got to have power, how do you get it? So we have to have people who understand how to get that power, bring them into the fold of the Black Gold Nation under the umbrella, because it's always been from the very beginning an umbrella organization, because I knew that there were Black people out here doing some phenomenal things on some phenomenal levels, but they were operating in a silo. They were experts in their field, but they were experts in that one field, and everything else was open, and their flanks weren't covered, so to speak. So I got to bring other Black people under the umbrella, other Black people into the tent, so we can have all of the avenues by which we're being attacked. Somebody is pointing out with a weapon to protect the community, the village, the child at the center, because everybody knows what they're doing per their given discipline. And not just that, we can't just have one person in charge of one department. There has to be a cabinet. Why? Because everybody needs a group. Why? Because they're only one person. Because Negroization still permeates. Because they're only human. More importantly, because we know that when someone stands up to do something for black people, they're targeted. So if something happens to that brother, if something happens to that sister, there needs to be not 1, not 5, not 10, not 20, but 100 plus black persons that say, I'm ready.
Right.
Like you were saying, is it my turn?
Right.
We need to have black people saying, I am ready.
I'm ready.
It's my turn. And more importantly, we are training 1,000 youth to say, I will be ready. So the idea behind the leadership election is that we have some serious problems as a people. We have some serious issues as a people. But I have 100% faith in the ability of black people. I believe that there's no question that can be asked that a black person cannot answer. Right. And even if there is no answer, since black people have been inventing since inventing was invented,
well,
brother, we will take some aluminum foil, put it around that antenna, and watch them Gilligan's Island. Brother, you know we will work it out.
We're gonna work it out.
We're gonna find a way out of no way. Why? Because it's what we do.
That's it.
So given the fact that we've been through so much, brother, there are only 2 things that can stop us. 2 things. One is a higher power. That obviously is not against us, because if it was, we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here anymore.
And the other thing is black people.
That's it. Ourselves. Come on.
So if we decide not to be stopped, we won't be stopped. Brother, everything we do, we take to another level. Good, bad, or otherwise.
Right.
We're going to take it to another level.
That's
because
it.
It's what we do.
It's who we are. It's the nature of who we are.
Jay, this would be a boring-ass planet if we weren't on it.
Woo!
Good, bad, or otherwise. We'll take some bullshit to another level, and the whole world wants to take that bullshit to another level. Woo! Because it's what we do. Right?
Right.
So what if we got serious about liberation?
Come on.
What if we got serious about power?
Come on.
What if we got serious about the world of Akibaland Academy?
Come on.
And we take everything you said and we said, okay, this brother has obviously been touched. This brother has passion. He has a vision. He's operating on another level. What he's doing needs to be done internationally. But he can't do it on his own. He needs a cadre. He needs a group that he can work with, he can build with, he can bounce ideas off of, people that speak his language. So when he says we turn to the left, amen, brother, we turn to the left. And we tell the whole black nation, we turn to the left. No problem, we turn to the left. And we do that, IJ, not just in media marketing PR.
Right, but in all things.
Not just in everything.
In all things.
And IJ, that is a nation.
Come on. Come on. There was
amen.
You know what I'm saying? That's an amen, brother. You had church.
All right.
Before we close out, one of the things you said, and I'm definitely trying to get this across to a greater scale. First, I want to say that the community learned the lesson about not having that avenue for people to be fulfilled in terms of the word that's in them. So they created something called the Kingdom Come Project. And so it allows individuals to create parallel power institutions that work parallel with our faith, but runs independent from church leadership.
Okay.
So this way the church doesn't have to be, that leadership vehicle doesn't have to be responsible for what you're saying and doing. You just moving forward. So I'll say applaud to that. However, the individual over the Kingdom Come Project, region to region, like you said, has to understand or be experts within that discipline.
Yes, sir.
Because if you put people in places that don't belong, things just don't grow.
It's not gonna
and that has been an issue, which is real. And one of the things I love what you said it is a sin not to pass the wisdom that you're giving down. And one of the things at being a Keeperland at heart, and y'all, I wasn't raised in the Keeperland, but I raised a whole lot of Keeperland. And so I'm going to claim myself a Keeperland alumni. And if I was in the program since my early 20s, and I ain't no older than you, my brother, I know how much wisdom we've raised. And how much wisdom is out there. And so the purpose of bringing the insight of what you've done with the Black Gold Nation and how well you've been able to orchestrate it and communicate it and put the work in for it, because the Spirit of God and the ancestors rock with you. Like you said, you saw the example of those who have gone before, and with Cardinal and Bayou, those who are still here.
That's right.
That bless your journey,
That's right.
because they know who you are, how you're built. And we have a flood of black youth who are now considered that millennial generation that are null and void.
Right.
And the statement that it is a deep sin not to pass on the wisdom that you sit on. So I'm charging. I've always charged. I'm here, like you said, not wanting to be up front. I can't tell you how many different organizations I offered my talents to. And they're watching, they're listening, you hear me. I still offer my talents to you, because this is a nation. The only thing I ask, don't abuse the brother. You feel me? Don't abuse the brother. Right. And so, like you said, being able to express the God in you, to take the wisdom that you were given and create the nation that we need to survive. One of the things I'll probably call you back on is the statement that this has to be those business arrangements and relationships with a greater Pan-African community. Mm-hmm. You have governments now who are vibing positions inside the UN for a global Pan-African reparations globally. And they're demanding the discussion on whether it's for the governments, reparations for governments, and reparations for the people.
Okay.
Ghana. Have you heard of what Ghana's building? Ghana has put together a coalition of leadership where they're building what is called the Wakanda Project.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute. If you listen to the sister, we need to fly the planes, own the planes, and build the planes.
At the same time.
All at the same time. You feel me?
Yes,
we need to have our cell phones, create the cell phones, and use our own cell phones. All at the same time. We need our shipping line. We need the ships, build the ships, and then ship. All at the same time. We have our housing, and they got 5,000 acres to build this multi-billion-dollar return home experience. Mm-hmm. Who else has 5,000 acres?
That number sounds very
familiar
to me.
Right. And so being able to create that vision where they've gone out to solicit business relationships to help manifest this thing.
Right.
The Jamaica has kicked the Queen of England out as head of state.
Okay.
We're an independent Republican nation. We're in Barbados doing the same. Mm-hmm. The African diaspora is making movements toward liberation of black people, and they're inviting those who want to come home.
Sure.
Come on home.
Yeah.
If they can reach out to us, why can't we reach out to them?
Oh yeah, I'm all for it. And that's why I say if we're going to prepare ourselves, which is part of our mission, to run cities, to control geographic space in this country, every one of those towns, villages, small and mid-sized cities needs to be connected to an African nation, so that we can do business together. We can have business arrangements, just like any other city has an arrangement with any other country.
Wow.
But of course, if we're the majority in that city, then we need to be reaching out to African nations, African countries, so we can do business with them. So when there is a 5,000 acre project for anything, or a 50,000 acre project for anything, we don't just bring our black city. We bring all of the black cities that we are running, which is black people. And we have to also understand, Ajay, that one of our greatest weapons, if not the greatest weapon that we have, is our unity.
Come on.
We outnumber the melanated population on this planet. Outnumbers everybody else who's non-melanated 7-1.
Woo. That's
If
a
we
ratio.
only did business with ourselves, we'd be just fine. But of course, we don't know that because your enemy is not going to tell you about
Come
your
on.
strengths.
Come on.
Right? And that's why it's important that we have to raise ourselves, educate ourselves, because your enemy is not going to do that, and you got to have the right leadership.
That's it. Well, and I want to deeply, deeply, deeply thank you for coming on the show. I'm grateful for the development of the Black Gold Nation. Again, you know, if I can help, I'm always a phone call away.
Ain't no if.
There we go. Always a phone call away. And let's keep building. I want to have you back to explain the dates of the election, and
Okay.
or you want to do that now? Do you have your flyer in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me. I think you have it. You have it, right?
Yeah, I do. So
Yeah.
give me a minute. You're gonna go off screen, and we're gonna put this online so people can see it.
Okay.
All right.
So am I?
Okay, everybody. Oh wait, let me see if I can give you audio. Let me see if I can give you audio. Is it let me give you audio? Yeah, it's not letting me give you audio. So I'm gonna do this. National leadership election starting June 24th through the 26th on 2002. Please take a look at the listings of what's being done. We're gonna have the brother come back where you see the blackgoldnation.com. Please go to the blackgoldnation.com. Take a look at it. If there's somebody you know that fits the positions that are there, put them as a candidate. If you feel like you fit the positions that are there, raise your hand and let God use you. This is an opportunity for you to be at service to the liberation of black people. All right, let me go back. How was that, brother? Did I do okay?
Hey man, I don't have anything to say. I'm thinking you covered all the bases. You good? Amen. Prayer benediction. We good.
Again, before we go, any closing words?
I always like to end my presentations with two things. Always remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always remember that nothing is more sacred. Not me, not you, your kids, my kids, your family, my family. Nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of black people. Because if black people don't make it, all of those people that we love are not going to make it. But if we put the group first, we put the tribe first, we put the nation first, and build power for the nation, then that power will be wielded like a two-edged sword to protect our people and build for our people, and everything else will fall in line.
With that being said, my brother, I'm going to do the final closing, and I'm going to appreciate you, and we definitely going to talk and build on the side.
Amen.
Amen.
All right.
My people, my people, my people. When I say the African speaks, it is not just in word, but it's in action. And for his life, he had been a part of a community where he saw individuals claiming their humanity, connecting back to the African within them and the God within them, fighting to build what God has for every other man that walks the planet. The African in him is speaking, and it's called the Gold Black Nation. Allow yourself to surrender to the will and power of God and to the ancestors, and let the African in you speak in action. One love.